qualifying as we are closer to determining the 2005 NASCAR Nextel Cup champion. We go down onto pit road and Marty Snyder.
And tonight here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Brian Vickers will go out 6th. So first of all, how important is qualifying here at Lowe's? And secondly, is the early draw a bad thing here?
I think it's important. I don't think it's that important. I mean, you can definitely come up from it. And yes, an early draw is a bad thing. In night racing, anytime there's qualifying and it's going to get hotter, it's going to get cooler, you know, whenever you can be in that cooler part. If qualifying's in the morning, you want to go early. Qualifying's in the afternoon, you want to go late. And we're going early, but we'll do the best we can.
And Brian here in May led the most laps, had the car to beat, but wrecked late. Guys?
Thanks a lot, Marty. Let's take a look at our Aqua Velva point standings. After 30 of 36 races, the top 6 drivers separated by just 95 points. Tony Stewart continues to roll as he tries to win his 2nd NASCAR Nextel Cup championship. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Burns. Hope you're having a great night alongside Larry McReynolds and Jeff Hammond. Now, boys, here in May, we had 22 caution flags for more than a quarter of the race laps. There's a lot of apprehension coming back here. What has happened between May and today, Jeff?
Well, Steve, what has happened is in May, they levigated the racetrack. They ground the racetrack. Like after May, they grounded some more. Guys complained about the racetrack, so Humpy Wheeler and his crew went to work. As you can see, the light area right there, they've been grinding some more all the way out on the straightaway this time to try to give the track more grip. But during the practice sessions 2 weeks ago, some of the top drivers in our sport, Tony Stewart and Greg Biffle, crashed not only once but twice at this racetrack. Since then, we've had a lot of rain here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Racetrack was expected to be kind of treacherous, but down in the garage area earlier today, Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon said, man, this place got a ton of grip, so we're looking for some pretty fast speeds, and I think the main thing is I think we're going to see some pretty good racing this weekend on top of everything else, Larry.
Okay, more grip in the corners, cooler temperatures. Let's see, Ryan Newman holds a track record at over 192 miles per hour. That's a done deal. That's over with tonight because, again, these motors, they're going to make a ton of horsepower tonight. These cars are almost going to be running wide open, and in the heat of the day, today, Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car ran over 193 miles per hour. So, if conditions will be right, this could become the fastest track on the circuit tonight.
Now, you said almost wide open?
Almost.
I think the key right here now is, do you feel lucky, punk? Can you do it?
Can you hold your breath that long?
So tonight will be a great combination of mechanical wizardry, hard work, and plain old-fashioned guts. That guy, Ryan Newman, he knows how to win a pole position. We'll find out. 49 drivers at the ready. You're watching Speed. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Bud Bowl qualifying from the Lowe's Motor Speedway is brought to you by Nextel, helping NASCAR groups get things done. NASCAR and Nextel, partners at Speed, and by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR. Jeff Green will be the first driver to take to this mile-and-a-half speedway, but first we go to Dave Burns.
With a little talk, Steve, about Tony Stewart, the championship leader for 3 of the 4 chase weeks so far, but it hasn't been without incident. And last week, this very car did well for Tony, finished 4th in the race, but gave him a little problem. Alternator belt fell off, came off or broke during the middle of the race, and the guys had to live with a backup battery. It did well, it made the race, and kept Tony in the points chase lead. So, 20-car night, how good is it? I've heard not bad, and he was 5th in the final practice, so he may be very good and maybe have a shot at the pole. Steve?
All right, thank you, Dave. Tony Stewart will be the 26th driver to clock in tonight.
And if you notice a little different paint scheme on Jeff Green, the 43 car, it's called Fan Fest. It's a contest that General Mills and Georgia Pacific got together and held. And what you're seeing on the 43 car is 43 of the different contest winners. And then when you see Kyle Petty's 45 car, the other 45 contest winners will be on that car. Pretty unique paint scheme there.
I like that. So 49 drivers set to qualify, Bud Pole qualifying here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina. You're watching Speed.
Well, here in May for the Coke 600, Joe Nemechek was leading with 8 laps to go and then lost a right rear tire and did not win the race. But you and I were just talking about how fast this racetrack is this time around. Do you ever completely get out of the throttle in your qualifying lap, Joe?
Well, when you're going, having a fast lap, no, you're not completely out. You may be back to 20% throttle instead of 100%, but if you're going to go fast, you don't get all the way out of the throttle.
Can someone go wide open all the way around for 2 whole laps maybe?
Well, I think if you're going to run in the 27-second bracket, whoever gets the pole is going to be pretty close to wide open. I just haven't had that much luck making my cars turn right in the center, holding the things wide open. So, you know, everybody's car is a little bit different. I'm going to try going a little bit harder here. It's cooled off, track's getting fast, so I think you're going to see some incredibly fast times tonight.
And with speeds like this, what kind of race might we see Saturday night real quick?
Well, I think race trim, I mean, right now everybody's got the grills blocked off solid. We're in fast mode right now. When we take the tape off, we're definitely going to slow down. So the high groove, there's some guys running up there. I think it's going to be a good race.
Joe, one of those early cars to go out tonight, guys.
And guys, one thing that will also, I think, help the speeds of qualifying, this is not an impound race. All of these cars are on full kill qualifying mode.
And Larry, talking to some of the crew chiefs down in the garage earlier today, some of them like that, and some of them didn't. But if you got a guy that can step up on it, like a Ryan Newman, Matt Boyle is loving it right now. He's licking his chops. He knows he can get his car tuned in right now and turn his driver loose.
Can you believe Ryan Newman has 5 holes and just 9 starts at this racetrack?
He's never started worse than 4th. Never.
That's not too shabby. Jeff Green on the racetrack, he has 10 starts with a best starting position of 4th.
And he was 43rd quickest in practice today. I think it's going to be a tight field because Jimmy Johnson was quickest at 27.94, and as I just mentioned, Jeff Green was 43rd, less than a second slower than Jimmy Johnson.
Well, his first lap's at 28.86 there, Larry, and I saw a little bit of smoke coming out that left front, and we see this a lot of times. Teams will practice during the day, take the car up, track cools down, a lot more grip. You'll see some sparks coming out of these cars, as well as a lot of probably tire smoke during the course of the evening.
Well, where the speed's picked up is on the exit of the corner, but it carries all the way down the straightaway, so you're entering the next corner much quicker. Ran almost identical times on both laps. The fastest was lap 1 at a 28.86, so he's picked up just a little bit from practice.
Hey, take control of America's fastest sport with speed. NASCAR TV on demand, including NASCAR Race Rewinds, NASCAR Victory Lane, and NASCAR Beyond the Wheel. Updated every week and totally free. Check your local cable provider for speed NASCAR TV on demand now. Scott Wimmer still looking for his first top 10 finish of the year.
But he finally got that first top 10 start of 2005, qualified 4th at Kansas last week.
Saw 196 miles an hour down there entering turn 1.
And Jeff, 177 miles per hour off the throttle in the middle of the corner, if they're even off the throttle.
Well, as Joe Nemechek said, you'd be expecting these guys to just barely breathe it through the corner right now, as far as if you've got a really fast race car. And a lot of times, you know, Scott Wimmer has shown that he's not afraid to get up on that wheel. So let's see what he can do. Good enough right now to be on the pole. He's not Jeff Green back a spot.
He picked up 2/10 from what he ran in practice earlier today.
And about 6/10 quicker than Jeff Green, which is a lot on this racetrack.
And I walked through the garage here during both of the practice, and there was no pattern. Some guys were running their fast lap on their first lap. Some guys were running their fast lap on their second lap. There was not a real pattern there to what was going on.
And Larry, one of the reasons for that, I got a chance to overhear Mark Martin and Pat Tryson talking about you know, their thought process as far as tires tonight, whether brand new tires will be faster, lightly scuffed, I mean just barely knocking the new off of them, or putting a full lap on your tires. A lot of teams kind of working with that part of the combination tonight, trying to figure out what type of Goodyear tire combination they'd like to have.
And as Larry Mack said at the top of the show, the track record is in jeopardy here this evening.
Now, I told Denny Hamlin here in the 11 car, I said, give me one of your radios. And he said, why do you want a radio? I said, I'm going to take it to the booth, and if you run a good first lap, I'm going to come on radio and say that's good enough, because if you go back to Kansas last week, he qualified 7th on lap 1, didn't make it through 3 and 4 on lap 2.
No, and he had a very impressive run going last week. I know he had some problems during the course of the race, but he was competitive pretty much all day long in this 11 car. He's really been very much of a surprise, I think, for a lot of people.
But, Jeff, if you notice right there, off the throttle in the middle of 1 and 2, he was 5 or 6 miles per hour slower than Scott Wimmer was, and it's pretty much showing up right here, as right now he's only going to be third of the 3 cars that has qualified.
But this has got to be a little bit intimidating for him to have to come to Lowe's Motor Speedway, all the changes that have gone on here, all the horror stories, and now he's got to go out there and make a pretty, concerted effort to try to make this race.
Jeff, you mentioned two of the best drivers in the series, Tony Stewart and Greg Biffle, tore up race cars. In fact, Greg Biffle said, "I'm lucky I was wearing my Hans device. I hit the wall so hard."
4 race cars between these 2 drivers, and there were some other incidents along the way because this racetrack did not have the grip. Now, both drivers said after everybody started practicing, it got better as it went along, and Denny Hamlin also got better, picked it up a little bit on that second lap. But this place right here, a lot of people were just scared to death about coming back in here this weekend. It's looking pretty good so far.
The 4th driver to qualify here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, officially in Concord, North Carolina, just north of Charlotte. And Jeff, you're a Charlotte resident. Larry Mack, you've been here for over 20 years. So many of the race teams are located within a 30-mile radius. All the drivers in the top 10 located nearby. How important is it for these guys to run well here?
It's a big deal because this is like your home field. There's guys that work in these race shops. They never go to the racetrack over the course of the year except for the 2 races here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. And I know when I was with Robert Yates Racing, as Mike Bliss has laid down so far the #1 lap of the night, but I know when I was with Robert Yates and was fortunate enough to win some races here, it was so neat having guys out of the fab shop and the engine shop in the victory lane pictures that never go to the racetrack.
The boys in the shop were at the track.
That make it happen.
Nice lap by Mike Bliss, 191.544 miles per hour, 28.192.
Yeah, about 2/10 quicker than when he ran earlier today. Slows down just a little bit on the second lap. Booty Barker, his crew chief, told me, he said, "Man, my hot rod's pretty good tonight if Mike and I can just take advantage of this draw because it's not a very good one." But, hey, he did pick up so far. He's looking pretty steamy right now. Hey, Marty, what's going on down there with you?
Well, chatting with Jamie McMurray, we were just talking about the speed of this place, and we were talking about how you become kind of callous to speed to some extent, you drivers do. But does this place, you notice the speed now?
Yeah, it's just, after racing here, this is, I think, my 6th year being here, it's kind of hard to make your brain take in how fast you can go. And you run through in the corner and you think, I can't believe I made it, and then they tell you need another half second. So it's got a lot of grip, and obviously qualifying at 9, it's going to be really good.
Jamie was 31st in practice. He said, "Don't let that deceive you. We have an excellent car for Saturday night's race."
Well, he knows what it's like to win here and what a good car feels like. This was in 2002, substituting for injured Sterling Marlin, and only about his 2nd or 3rd Nextel Cup start, he went to victory lane here at Lowe's Motor Speedway for the Ganassi Group.
Great story, Larry Mack. Just his 2nd career start. There's his dad. What an upset that was, and that certainly helped catapult his career.
3 years ago tonight, exactly.
Kenny Schrader, next up, making his 42nd start this weekend.
Had a good run going at Kansas last week. Ran up there at the front of the top 10 most of the day, but struggled here in practice earlier. He was only 46 quickest. And we need to make mention, we had 49 cars here. Stanton Barrett has actually withdrawn from the field, so we'll have 48 cars take the clocks tonight.
Guys, a lot of times we talk about Kenny Schrader and the fact that on about any given weekend, if there's a racetrack, short track anywhere close by, you may find Kenny over there. Last weekend, I got a chance to watch him race over at Lakeside Speedway, just right there outside of Kansas Speedway, and was very impressed. I mean, he put on a pretty good little display as far as his dirt driving ability. Won his heat race and was coming up through the field and just run out of laps.
28.80 on lap 1. That puts him 4th quickest. Kenny actually has one win here.
And Kenny says, boys, I think that's about enough for me.
That's all she has.
Schrader's win came in 1989 here in the October race, and we go down to Dave Burns.
Checking in with Mike Bliss now, who set a pretty good lap there, I think a 192. And Mike, you were 8th here in the spring, so this is a pretty good Mike Bliss track.
I love Charlotte. This is my first win in a bush race here 2 years ago, so I like it. It's fast, man. That's really getting around there, and I can't imagine going 3/10 better. You know, I imagine they're going to be going 3/10 faster. So, but that's good. We've been good all day, and we did a great job with the setup, and guys in the motor department, Hendricks, they're great. So I'm pretty tickled. Pretty tickled.
Good lap for Mike Bliss. Steve.
All right, thank you, Dave. Brian Vickers of the 25 car has rough memories of this race a year ago. Takes the hard right-hand turn.
That was a hard lick, but as you see, the safer barriers exist even along the front stretch here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Larry Mack, you see Brian Vickers getting out there, and yes, the safer barriers are there, but good lesson for rookie drivers. Everybody always says when the car gets loose, what do? Turn it to the left and lock those brakes up, and that's what happened last time. He tried to correct, overcorrected, and got in that outside wall.
But Steve, you were talking about the teams that are located here in this Charlotte area. These race teams, they're located within walking distance. And trust me, Hendrick Motorsports, they've always put a huge effort into Lowe's Motor Speedway. Rick Hendrick is an owner, 12 wins here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Yeah, they are literally about 2 miles from this racetrack.
Looks like Brian may pick it up a little bit on this second lap, at least going off into turn 3. Now he's losing a little bit of ground here through turn 3 and 4. His first lap was 28.43, almost identical, 28.44. So right now Brian Vickers will be third.
Mike Bliss is the fastest of 6 drivers who have clocked in here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. We'll be right back. Speed. Check out NASCAR Beyond the Wheel as a race unfolds. What happens inside the team? Hear the drivers and the crews as they strategize their moves, work through their race plans, and try to drive their team to victory lane. NASCAR Beyond the Wheel tonight at 10 Eastern, only on Speed.
Jimmy Spencer in the 50 car. This will be the first of the go home cars to take the clock. Struggled a little bit in practice earlier today. Only 38th quickest in the Darn Arnold number 50 car. This group, I think they're planning on maybe running about 5 of these last 6 races, but still would love to put a sponsor on this race car. His first lap, the slowest so far of the 7 cars, 28.87. So I feel like to be safe, you're going to probably have to at least run in maybe the 60s or 70s, Jeff, in the 28.60s or 70s.
I think tonight you're right about that, Larry. And watching the 50 car, you notice sparks come out the back of the car. Could be upsetting the way the handle feels as far as Jimmy's concerned, and maybe affecting the way he's able to get around this racetrack.
Marty Snyder.
Well, Steve, in this race last year, Casey Kane had the car to beat, led 207 laps, and then the right front went. How's the car today compared to then?
It wasn't quite as good. You know, we tried some stuff in race practice and ended up making 1 run at the end in qualifying, and we're 40th, so not quite as good. They made some changes. I think it'll be a lot better here. I'm going to try to put a pretty good lap down, but you know, I think the Mopar paint scheme, all the Dodge dealers out there, Mountain Dew Valvoline, everybody that supports this deal, hopefully we'll get a good running.
He said don't read too much into that 40th. They spent most of the day in race trim, as he said, made 1 qualifying run right at the very end of practice.
Travis Kvapil on the racetrack, Marty.
Travis struggled in practice earlier today, only 45th quickest. I talked to Travis today, and he said, you know, we're finally getting where we're finishing in the top 15 and top 20, but he said we feel like that's where we should have been back in April and May, where we could be maybe finishing in the top 10 or 12 now.
2003 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champ. He's got 4 top 10 starts this season.
This car is locked into the show because he's in the top 35 in owner points, and it's a good thing. That first lap, 29.14.
Well, Larry, he's chasing this car all over the racetrack. He's trying to get it in there low. The car's jumping up the racetrack. He's exiting out somewhat on the high line right now, and it doesn't look very stable. If you look at the car, to me, it's very, very nervous through the middle of the corner.
It's like he can't turn the wheel.
Cannot turn the wheel down. It's like if he did, he's going to spin it.
Ryan Newman will be the first of our chase drivers to qualify tonight. He goes out 20th.
Travis picks it up on lap 2, but he's still only 8th quickest out of the 8 cars that have qualified.
Next up will be Johnny Sauter in the 09 car. the Miccosukee Resort Dodge.
Tell you what, I watched Johnny a lot in both practice sessions today, and he was actually pretty good. He was 20th quickest, and I'm going to tell you what, he had one of the better dodges here in the spring race. He got a lap down, he drove away from the leaders, and I think he started having to overdrive the car and lost a right front tire midway through the race.
Yeah, I got a chance to talk to the owner of this car, James Finch, down in the garage area, and he said about the same thing. Pretty happy with his Cup car. They were having to work on the Busch car a little bit early on, but he said the car was pretty solid. Johnny was really happy about it.
Keeps gaining right here on our pace chase. Losing a little bit of ground as he went to pick the throttle up in 3 and 4, but now he's getting a little bit of it back, and the whole secret, be able to mat that thing and stay in the throttle. This is going to be a good lap for Johnny Sauter.
Good enough for 5th quickest.
28.72, almost 188 miles per hour average.
And as Larry Mack said earlier, big number put down today in practice, over 193 miles per hour.
It's like he's good all the way to turn 3, but he loses just a little bit in the middle of 3 and 4, like on the entrance to 3 in the middle of 3 and 4. This could be a little better lap, though. And it is, picks it up to 28.69, which is worth a couple of positions.
Yeah, and think right now, Larry, when you look at that car, he picked it up all through 1 and 2, right down the bottom at white line.
More Bud Polk qualifying from Lowe's Motor Speedway here on Speed right after this. Front row Joe Nemechek has never won a pole position here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, but he has started 2nd in 22 appearances, Nextel Cup appearances on this racetrack.
Steve, I can tell you something right now. That was a good look in turn 1 and 2 right now. He just really kind of laid the car off in the corner, kind of high entrance, right on a white line. Now back through 3 and 4. He's down on that white line once again. He picked that throttle up early. He's really got a lap going here.
Looks like it may be in the 20, possibly the 28.30s, maybe the 20s, 28.21. He goes to 2nd quickest on lap 1.
He's got Hendrick horsepower under the hood, and Larry, you talked about Jimmy Johnson running 193 miles an hour plus. That's just a huge number on this racetrack.
And just remember, Mike Bliss right now that's on the pole in the 0 car, that's Hendrick horsepower as well. I'm going to tell you what I'm enjoying watching. Yeah, I'm enjoying watching these top 10 guys, but Joe Nemechek, he's in the thick of this battle for 11th. We have 7 drivers within 100 points. And remember, 11th place pays $1 million at the end of the year.
So Joe Nemechek, 2nd right now behind Mike Bliss, and we go to Marty Snyder.
And his teammate Scott Riggs getting ready to climb in the car in a moment. 8th fastest in practice. Do you have a shot at the pole, or is the early draw going to hurt you a bit?
You know, I don't know. I think the guys at the middle draw are going to be the best. I think right now it's not quite as cool as it's going to get. I think late in the evening it's going to start getting some dew on the racetrack too. So, you know, we got a good shot at having a good solid qualifying effort here. We got a good car, brand new car. Every time we run this car in the past, it's run well. We just haven't quite got to the finish line with it. So go out here and try to get a top 10.
Scott reminded me that here in May, and you guys remember this, he was running in the top 5, lost a cylinder.
Had a good run going, Marty, really did.
And he started 4th here a year ago in this race.
And Larry, he brings up a kind of interesting point. I've never really noticed that here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, but he talked about the dew falling as far as late in the fall like this. A lot of times late in the evening, you get this kind of like, you know, a mist almost. It kind of comes down. But I have never seen it really affect the racetrack that much. Have you?
Not unless it gets real late and there's a lot of humidity in the air. But I'm like him. If I maybe picked to go out qualifying maybe around 30th or so, that may be the best time to go out possibly. Good lap for Mike Wallace. Right now he's the fastest of the go-or-go-homers. 5th quickest for Mike in his 4 car.
And Larry, this underscores the point you made earlier. It's going to be a tight field, meaning you have very little margin for error in making this race if you're not in the top 35 in owner point.
Well, when you're trying to run 193 miles per hour on a 1.5-mile racetrack, you have very little margin of error anyhow.
You bring up a good point.
It's like walking on a razor blade.
And whatever you do, don't slip.
And Mike Wallace, this group in the 4 car, just clawing, trying to get in the top 35 in owner points. They are only 7 points behind the 11 car right now. It is the 35th place in owners.
Down to pit road with Dave Burns and Joe Nemechek.
Joe Nemechek just getting out of the car, getting the cap on. Losing a little time out there. I just talked to Johnny Sauter. He said the track's tightening up. Is it hard to adjust to the way the track has changed now, Joe?
Well, I got to tell you, I thought I'd run faster than that. My car drove almost perfect. You know, the biggest thing here qualifying is you got to be in the throttle. The more time you're in the throttle, the faster you're going to go. So driving off in the corners, we're not getting out of the gas all the way. So I thought I went a lot faster, but hey, we'll take it. It's going to be a decent starting spot for us. I still think they're going to go really fast here at the end. It'll cool down, track will cool down, and just keep getting faster.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, Dave. David Rudiman from Zephyr Hills, Florida. The 00 car drives for DW, Darrell Waltrip, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He's 9th in points over there.
Good lap. Good lap.
Compared to how they were in practice, there is no question that's a good lap, because right now he's the fastest of the go homers at a 28.44, and this lap even looking a little better so far halfway down the backstretch.
Saw just a little bit of tire smoke off the right side of the car. Looked like possibly came off the right front, but he's down there, baby. He's a digging.
I don't believe this lap will end up as good as the first one. I think that first lap will get these boys in the show.
David Rudiman, 5th fastest. 12 drivers taking time here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Mike Bliss, still the quickest.
Race number 12 of 2005 for the Maxwell Cup Series. Side Labonte. Labonte gets the run. Second corner. Nemechek just lost it in turn 1. Here goes Johnson.
It's NASCAR at night. The only Saturday night race in the chase. It's Charlotte, October 15th. Get your tickets now for the UAW GM Quality 500 featuring spectacular free race stunts and Montgomery Gentry in concert. Call 800-455-FANS. Lowe's Motor Speedway, where racing lives.
With over 25,000 dedicated CarQuest Auto Parts professionals across North America, we're proudly serving a world in motion.
America's favorite home gym is more affordable than ever. Now you can get the all-new Bowflex Extreme for just $19 a month. Call the number on your screen for a free DVD or video and check it out. Bowflex's Power Rod technology delivers results. Powerful arms, defined legs, a stronger chest, and a toned, sexy core. And owning a Bowflex home gym is so affordable. Great results are easy with a new Extreme. All it takes is one simple workout, 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, to get in the best shape of your life. The Extreme is built so well that we back it with an unrivaled 7-year warranty. And so effective, it comes with Bowflex's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Through this special offer, you can own one with no money down and just $19 per month. You can't get this Bowflex deal anywhere else. Call us for a free DVD or video, or visit us online and find out how to get your Bowflex for just $19 a month today.
Gavel to gavel, the Barrett-Jackson Auto Auction is without a doubt the premier collector car auction in the world. From classics to exotics, restored originals to custom street rods, you'll be amazed at the cars that roll up on the block. Catch the best highlights of Barrett-Jackson. The auction's next, only on Speed.
No, I'm not going out there, and I'm not buying a car.
Well, I'm just going to make comments. You just look like the kind of guy who would be driving one of those big Cadillac, convertibles. All laid back, smoking a
Big
cigar.
old cigar. There you go. Life is good.
Yeah. Maybe even dressed in purple.
Tell you what, life's going to be pretty good for Dave Blaney in this Jack Daniels car. 4th quickest on lap 1. I know I talked to his boys earlier today. They were one of the cars, one of many cars that came out here and tested. Said they actually quit early because Dave was that happy with the car. And I think he's happy with lap 1 because he said, that's it, boys.
Larry, with all the apprehension that we kept hearing about, with 22 cautions back in May, and as Jeff mentioned, additional grinding to this racetrack, it doesn't appear yet that those fears have been realized in the race on the racetrack.
No, but because I think Jeff made this point in the top of the show. Immediately it appeared with the rubber that's on the racetrack now that it has more grip than it did when they first started testing on it a couple of weeks ago.
Jeff, are you surprised that we have this much rubber or grip on the racetrack? We've had 7 inches of rain in a week.
That was my biggest concern. I felt like they could get the rubber back down, but with 1 day of practice on here, I was wondering how many casualties there would be during these practice sessions, but so far it's been pretty good. And like I say, a lot of these drivers are pleasantly surprised.
Boy, as Marty Snyder said, Casey Kane had such a great race car here a year ago, leading over 200 laps.
He was 196 miles per hour off into turn 1 that time after taking the green flag. 196 off into turn 3.
Mike Bliss still the fastest, 191.544 miles per hour, 28.192. That's your pole speed and time.
First lap, 7th quickest for Casey at a 28.51. But you know, they were talking about it a while ago. Did he ever have the car to beat a year ago here and lost that right front tire? He qualified on the outside pole, led 207 laps. It was his race to lose until that right front tire went out on him.
And it sounds like to me, Larry, they're working right now to get that car balanced back like they had it here a year ago so that Casey could take advantage of this racetrack. He did pick up about 3/10 from what he'd practiced at, but he does slow down just a little bit on his second lap. Big Dave Burns, what's going on down there, bro?
I'm with Big Dave Ruderman down here,
who
has clocked a pretty darn good lap. You did what you had to do.
Yeah, you know, I hope it gets us in. You know, I think it's going to be a little tight, but got to outrun some other guys there. But thank the Lord, I was doing some heavy praying before we went out there. But I got to thank Michael Walter Motorsports. It's kind of a two-tiered effort there. Some of my truck guys, my truck crew chief Jason Overstreet doing the deal over here with us, and some of Michael's guys, and Stay Fair Corn Dogs on the car. It's a great opportunity. I just hope we get in the race.
All right, that's David Ruderman. Marty?
Well, Dave, here in May, Bobby Labonte finished second, a very close second to Jimmy Johnson. How many times have you replayed the finish of that race in your head, Bobby?
A lot more people replayed it for me. They said, you know, you should have done.
Exactly. So. They're experts after the fact, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it's just the way it is. But, you know, might have, would have, should have, you know, taken a different line or whatever. But obviously we didn't. So we finished second. We'll try to improve this time.
All right. It was a very exciting finish and 29th fastest in practice this morning for Bobby.
Thanks, Marty. Bobby Labonte has 3 poles and 2 wins at this racetrack. Jamie McMurray on the high banks.
9th quickest on lap 1 at a 28.66. We talked about that battle for 11th as he's bottomed out just a little bit through turn 2. He's 12th in the points, 1 point behind Kevin Harvick.
That's 1 point behind $1 million.
You bet it.
Would that not be just kind of a crushing deal as far as your ends and all of a sudden you realize 1 point?
Well, if you finished 11th, you're acknowledged with the top 10 drivers, and they pay you $1 million. If you're 12th, you sit at table 162, and you're the last to get the meatloaf and green beans.
Pass the gravy. Jamie McMurray, 7th fastest. Mike Bliss, still the quickest here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Bud Bowl qualifying underway. Scott Riggs with Hendrick horsepower under the hood. On the racetrack, as we said, he started 4th here a year ago. He's not afraid to go fast, Jeff Hammond.
Not afraid to go fast. The car just bottomed out a little bit, getting into 1 to kind of run him up the racetrack a little bit. He was 8th quickest in the final practice, Larry, and you know, he said it. If everything kind of works out, he's not going to be afraid to let the rough side drag.
Jeff, it's like he gained some time getting into turn 3, but he lost it right in the middle of turn 3 and 4. But this is still going to be a pretty good lap for Scott. 5th quickest at a 28.36.
So Hendrick horsepower on the front row right now in the form of Mike Bliss and Joe Nemechek.
Same thing again. I mean, he really drove that down into turn 3. You actually saw it go up to about 1st or 2nd, but he, you know, what goes in must come out, and he paid the price just a little bit on the exit of turn 4. That's a good lap.
Picks up a little bit on that second lap also, and 4th quickest.
Yeah, right now we have 4 Hendrick engines in the top 6.
Let's check in with Marty Snyder.
What a fun week it was last week for Mark Martin at Kansas. Did you take any time to soak that win in, Mark?
No, man. I had a full week before we went and won that race, and doing that really packed it in on us. We've been so busy. This weekend's going to be a vacation.
You guys have inched closer to the championship, Mark, and a lot of good tracks for you coming up. Do you still feel like you have a shot?
Yeah, we got a lot of great racetracks, starting with this one, my favorite of all. So, you know, I have really got a great race team. They're fired up right now. Looks like we may be peaking at the right time.
Mark loves this racetrack, as he said. 3rd fastest in this afternoon's practice, guys.
And he's good on this racetrack, Marty. 2 poles, 4 wins, over 1,000 laps led.
But I'm glad to see his confidence is a little higher tonight than it was in Victory Lane last week, because even after winning Kansas, he's still saying, I can't win the championship after what happened at Talladega. Now, he's 7th in the points, only 113 points out. But when I look right now, 2nd through 8th, 41 points separating those guys. That's almost tighter than they were when this thing started 4 races ago.
It really isn't. The key thing right now is that Tony Stewart can't afford to make a mistake. If Tony makes a mistake, a lot of guys are going to be all over. When I say the pack of hounds will be there.
But you know what, Jeff? I was just looking today. I believe Tony Stewart has 15 top 10 finishes in his last 16 starts.
Since Father's Day.
That's unbelievable.
Pretty consistent, I'd say.
Unbelievable. David Stremme, 10th quickest of 17, taking times on this 1.5 mile, lightning fast Lowe's Motor Speedway. All right, here he is, Ryan Newman. 5 times a pole sitter on this 1.5 mile track in just 9 starts.
Yeah, when I looked at the qualifying sheet today about Lowe's Motor Speedway, everything on it was Ryan Newman in the 12 car. He got his first career butt pole here in May of 2001. He's a track record holder. He's never started worse than 4th here. Everything about qualifying, Ryan Newman. There you see his crew chief, Matt Borland, watching as Ryan Newman takes the green flag.
And you talked about that 193-mile-per-hour barrier that Jimmy Johnson topped today, 192.988. The record set by Ryan Newman.
But right here, guys.
Damn.
Right there, guys. Showing first all the way through. Green light, and he is still gaining on him. Losing just a little bit back here in the middle of 1-2.
But boy, look how he got in the throttle and stayed in it. I mean, look at that thing right there going.
Blasting off.
She is dead in the green. Yes, sir. 193. There it is, Larry Mack.
27.96.
193.
We have a new
track record
at 193.126 miles per hour. That is exciting.
And he's not finished yet, boys. He's running a 2nd lap, and right now she's showing green right there.
How's that old song go? Good ain't good enough.
It's almost going to be identical to lap 1, just a little bit slower. He didn't get off turn 4 as good that time as he did on lap 1.
Used it all up on that first lap, though, but it was a great one.
Let's go to commercial, Steve.
I gotta catch my breath. Hey, stay with us here on Speed. More Bud Pole qualifying headed your way. Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Ryan Newman has eclipsed the 193-mile-per-hour barrier. Meanwhile, Bobby Labonte on the racetrack, 3-time pole sitter, and won his very first Nextel Cup race here in 1995.
I wonder how a driver will react. That's a tough act to follow when you got to follow that 12 car, knowing what he's going to do.
Well, looky here, boys. If he can get off turn 4, he was good all the way to the middle of turn 3 and 4. Lost just a little bit of ground right there on the exit of 4. It's going to be a great lap. 2nd quickest for Bobby Labonte.
And what a battle he had with Jimmy Johnson here in May. Came down to the start-finish line, and Jimmy Johnson just did edge him out.
0.027 seconds. Just enough that he finished 2nd.
I'll say, would you call that close?
Pretty close.
It's a really good lap here for Bobby Labonte. I mean, this is exactly what this team needed coming back here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Get the week kind of like started off right for them.
I know they tested out here. It looks like it's paid off. He'll slow down a little bit, but 2nd quickest right now for the 18 car.
Here it is, Bobby Labonte on the bottom, Jimmy Johnson on the high side, the last corner of lap number 400 here in May.
But just remember, about 2 months before this, Carl Edwards did the same thing to Jimmy Johnson at Atlanta. Jimmy Johnson went, not at the house I built, not Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Standing right in front of him when he got out and kicked that race car. I can't tell you what he said.
At least he didn't kick you, Steve.
No, he didn't. But he did turn around and say, gosh, I wanted to win that race or something like that. Still has the fire. Here he is, Mark Martin.
Speaking of fire.
Speaking of fire. A little bit of fire out the back, underneath the back of that 6 car, and it bobbles right in the middle of the corner on Mark.
But he really drove her down into turn 1, paid the price a little bit, but he's picking up a little bit back down the back straightaway. Roush Racing, 12 wins this year, 2005, and every driver has won, all 5 teams. It's going going to be a good lap for Mark. I'd imagine he will be one and done, I'd almost say.
192.014 miles per hour. He won the Nextel All-Star race here in May.
And you're right, Larry McReynolds. He is cut her off.
Into one. I didn't get a good lap.
Dave Burns is with the Rocket Man.
Yeah, and he already had the track record here, but what's 193 feel like, 193 plus?
It feels good, but you just never know what the track's going to have in it. You never know what the track's going to be like as far as balance and everything else. And I thought it was a good lap for all Dodge, and we'll just see where we end up with it.
You're concerned that lap might be beat?
Yeah, always.
because the facts tell you that, as a matter of fact, someone could beat you.
Well, Jimmy was quick in practice, and I know Elliott Sadler was holding the ace in the hole, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, Ryan's going to wait. It's a great lap, guys, but not too sure yet.
75 points behind our leader, Tony Stewart, is Ryan Newman, as Stuart Kirby, the number 51 car, next on the speedway.
Had a little skirmish with the wall in the first practice today, but they repaired the right side of this car, and this team runs on a limited schedule. But I was pretty amazed today when I saw that the only race this team did not qualify for that they have showed up at was Indianapolis, the Brickyard 400, and they had the brakes were locking up on the car as he went out to qualify.
But Larry, when you said this a little skirmish with the wall, I was down there around the car while they were making repairs, and he actually bent some of the suspension components on this car, most notably the lower right front A-arm. So,
which begs the question then, you can't have a little skirmish at over 190 miles per hour.
No. Yeah. He's got work to do, though, from lap 1, 28.95, but this lap looks like it possibly may be a little better, but right now he's the slowest of the go homers, so he's got to pick it up as he comes down to complete lap 2.
Kirby, just 24 years old, from Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Did good on lap 2.
15th fastest of 21 clocking in here tonight. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Bud Bowl qualifying from the Lowe's Motor Speedway is brought to you by LA Rush. Pimped out, juiced up, flying high by High Endurance Oils from Mobile, official lubricants of NASCAR. Larry McReynolds is puzzled. And by Aqua Velva. Aqua Velva keeps your face toned and fit, Larry Mack. There's something about an Aqua Velva man.
First, I thought that was a promo for Hammond.
Yeah, what? Pimped out, juiced up, flying high.
Yes, sir. That's
Jeff
my boy.
19 car Jeremy Mayfield is on the racetrack right now.
Jeremy Mayfield is one of our chasers. He is 9th in points.
Watch Jeremy go down the back straight. We'd like to point out when Stuart Kirby made his run, he actually locked in David Rudiman and Michael Walters 00. So good job there, David Rudiman, and that whole team. Like I know they were kind of concerned about making this race.
It'll be his first Nextel Cup start for David Rudiman. Jeremy's first lap, 28.58. That puts him 15th quickest. I think he's going to say that'll do just fine, boys.
Marty Snyder with the driver who has a shot at the pole, at least according to Ryan Newman.
Yeah, Mr. Newman said Elliott Sadler had an ace in the hole. Were you holding something back in practice, Elliott?
I think we're going to be pretty good. I think we got a shot to beat Ryan, but it's going to take every ounce of driving talent we got. I think the car's fast enough. Just Ryan knows how to get that extra little bit. And but M&M's car is good. I'm very happy with it. It's not one thing I will want to change on it before I go out. We'll just see if we can make a run for it.
You got to keep up the streak of front row starts. I mean, this 2 weeks in a row. You can't let yourself down, right?
Yeah, man, I hate Matt got us last week, but it's too good. It was great to have 2 Robert Yates engines on the front row. I really want to go for it. It's a lot of grip in this track. I mean, it's unbelievable how fast it feels right now. And nighttime, and we got a good draw. We're going to go for it. We're going to see what happens. Doug's got the motor all tuned up. The guy's done a good job with it. That's the driver's job.
4th fastest in practice, and he promises, guys, I'm not going to breathe.
Going for his 4th pole this season, Marty. Driver number 8 on the racetrack.
Tell you what, his car looked awfully good down in turn 1 and 2, right to the bottom of the racetrack, right to the bottom in 3 and 4. Not a lot of bobbling with this race car.
Car looks real solid, but you talk about a home team, home field advantage. Hey, this is this kid's backyard.
Kannapolis, North Carolina, about 10 miles north of here.
He'll end up 11th quickest on that first lap at a 28.46, and I think he'll call it quits after lap 1.
And you know what I like about Dale Earnhardt Jr.? He's got Financially, he's secure enough he can live anywhere in this country and do this job, but he stays in this area.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, he does. Just the farm a little north of here. Following his father's footsteps as far as that's concerned.
So Dale Earnhardt Jr., 11th fastest of 23 who have taken time here on this 1.5 mile Lowe's Motor Speedway.
You know what's funny about this as far as his popularity? He could have qualified right now dead last, and they'd still love him here at this race.
Yeah. Yeah, we asked him about that on trackside last week. Is he surprised at his fans following, regardless if it's way up or if things are way down? And he said he was very flattered by it. Speaking of way up right now, Tony Stewart, this 20 car.
99 miles an hour off into turn 1.
And he paid the price just a little bit, Jeff, because he lost some ground in the middle. Now he's starting to gain it back a little bit as he carries it down into turn 3. If he can pick the throttle up.
Load it off in there, Tony, and then pick the throttle back up.
He lost it right there,
yep,
just a little bit right there.
But can he get it back before he gets back to start-finish line? No, not on the first lap.
28.022. That puts him outside the front row right now, just in front of his teammate, Bobby Labonte.
By 5/1000ths of a second.
Now, he got off turn 2 that time much better than he did on lap 1.
See what he can do right through the middle of 3 and 4 here.
Still green.
Still green.
But he lost it right there. The Achilles heel has been picking the throttle up down in turn 3 and 4.
Points leader Tony Stewart to the start-finish line.
Almost identical laps, guys. 3/1000ths of a second.
The Rocket Man is still the quickest here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Kyle Petty will be making his 48th start on the Lowe's Motor Speedway here Saturday night on NBC. And as he takes his laps, we'll check in with Marty Snyder.
And Greg Biffle, third place man in the championship, getting ready to go out here in a moment. And you didn't have a fun test session here, did you, Greg?
No, we didn't. We wrecked a couple cars here testing, but I tell you what, the track's in a lot better shape, and both the Busch and Cup car have run pretty good, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to make 2 laps and see if I can't get a top 5 start spot, top 10 maybe.
Got 88 points to make up and 6 races to do it. Is there time, Greg?
Yeah, I think there's time, but I mean, we're just going to have to keep having the top 3 runs, top 4 runs, and Tony's going to have to, be around 10th or something to gain on him, and he hasn't done that so far.
All right, Greg finished 6th here in May.
Tell you what, boys, Kyle Petty in his 45 car, great qualifying run. He's one and done. 9th quickest for Kyle at 28.30, almost 2/10 quicker, better than 2/10 than what he ran in practice.
And a lot of times this team right here, when they qualify that well, watch out for them in the race. And they've been putting together some pretty impressive finishes here lately, late in the season.
And there's the other faces of the 45 contest winners that from the Fan Fest that both the Petty Enterprises sponsors put on.
Where's your face at, Larry?
I don't think I entered the contest. I didn't know about it.
You're not eligible.
Not eligible.
No,
there you go.
Not eligible.
Is that the case right there? You were going to enter if they put your face on the whole hood.
You got me mixed up with DW again.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that.
Kevin LePage in the number 66 on the racetrack, 43 years old, out of Shelburne, Vermont.
Great qualifying run at Kansas last week. Qualified 6th, and that was his best start since Lowe's here in October of 2003, and the best start ever for this 66 team, but a lot of bottoming out. Jeff, which is something that bites a lot of race teams here in qualifying.
And it looks to me like it's the Bellhausen area. It's hitting up way up the front part of the race car, so that really upsets the driver when you hit down that hard, even though he put down a very good lap. 10th quickest.
And he's locked into the show.
Yeah, front cross member, somewhere around the Bellhausen area. A lot of sparks out of the front of that car.
But this has been one of those racetracks that Kevin has just always ran well at. We have drivers that like a particular track. Lowe's Motor Speedway has been his racetrack. And it looks like he's even going to pick up some time possibly on lap 2 here. He lost a little bit on the exit of turn 4.
But it just makes you wonder how much faster could he have been if he hadn't been bottoming out.
He run identical speeds both laps.
Dave Burns is with our championship points leader.
And that is Tony Stewart. You guys were talking about consistency. Those were 2 very consistent, very fast laps, Tony.
Yeah, just not fast enough. But Ryan put a good lap down. We're all waiting to see what the 48 car does. He was the best in practice. So really happy with the lap. I thought I might be able to run a flat and was not very far off of that. So the good thing is they were both consistent laps. So really happy with the Home Depot Monte Carlo. It's driving really good. So excited to get this thing in race practice tomorrow.
Could bode well for the rest of the weekend for Tony.
So, Dave, everybody pointing at Jimmy Johnson and Elliott Sadler as the drivers who have a shot at that pole speed, and with good reason. Jimmy Johnson trying to win his 4th consecutive race here. He also has 2 poles.
See Carl Long here in the 80 car. Now, Carl was only 48 quickest in practice earlier today. We need to mention once again, we have 49 cars here. Stanton Barrett withdrew, so 48 cars will attempt to qualify, which means 5 cars plus Stanton Barrett will not make this show for Saturday night.
Following Carl Long, it'll be the Biff, Greg Biffle.
It's going to be very borderline here on lap 1, 28.84. That puts him 24th quickest right now. And as I said, I just believe you're going to have to run maybe in those 60s, maybe low 60s, Jeff, to make sure you're safe to get in this show.
To be safe right now, yeah. It seems like the field just continues to tighten up. And Carl was also one of those cars who found the outside retaining wall just a little bit unfriendly today during practice. Didn't do a lot of damage to the car, but it did skin it up quite a bit.
He's going to pick it up a little bit, but just not enough to really help his cause.
Carl Long, 23rd of 27 drivers who have taken time. More Bud Pole qualifying on speed. Greg Biffle is 88 points behind our leader, Tony Stewart. And you see his best start in 5 Nextel Cup races here is just 18th.
And he has never had a top 5 finish here as well, but I know this is one of the cars and chassis that he likes. It's the chassis he won Fontana and Texas with earlier in the year. He was 17th quickest in practice earlier at a 28.44. Looks like a pretty decent lap going as he enters off into turn 3 here on lap 1.
Texas also a 1.5 mile track.
Lost a lot of ground down in turn 3 and 4, especially from the center out. A lot of ground.
This looked like he couldn't quite hold it at the bottom of the racetrack like I think he'd like to have.
Jeff, Kurt Busch said an interesting thing. Larry Mack brings up the fact that Greg Biffle won at Texas in his car. Kurt Busch said that this racetrack, Lowe's Motor Speedway, has become a lot more like Texas with the levigating and the grinding of the surface.
I think he's probably alluding to a lot of the speed right now and the way you can drive this racetrack. It has actually changed, I think, the groove that used to be here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Now you can just kind of like pick or choose, and it's definitely a different racetrack than what it used to be.
Well, Greg picked up a couple of tenths on lap 2, and that bumps him up to 11th right now.
Marty Snyder, what you got?
I'm talking to Kevin Harvick, and he's got what a lot of people want, 11th place in the championship. That's a $1 million payout, and you're hanging on to it, Harvick.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We didn't have the greatest week last week, but we've had a really good month before that with our GM Goodwin Chevrolets. Got Snap-on on board this weekend. Pretty happy with the brand new car that we had in practice, so we'll just have to wait and see. A lot of speed.
Yeah, 2nd week in a row for a brand new car. Is this experimentation for next year?
Well, I think, you know, we kind of stuck with one car and felt that this car was quite a bit better, so we just have to keep progressing along and just trying to keep making everything better.
Elliott Sadler on the track.
Well, he said he was going to go for it. Elliott Sadler in this M&M's 38 car halfway down the backstretch right now. Looks pretty good.
A lot of green.
If he can just stay in that throttle, he loses a little bit off turn 4, and I just don't think it's... Oh, he got it back right there. Late exit off turn 4. Let's see if he does it. Yes! 27.94.
And he shuts her down.
Yes, sir.
And he did it all right from the middle of 3 and 4, getting back to the start-finish line. There's Doug Yates.
He likes that.
Right, guys.
I know there's a lot of people that work hard in the Nextel Cup garage area, but that man right there, as far as working on horsepower, I guarantee you nobody can outwork him.
And Elliott just said the car was amazing.
Pretty good way to sum it up right there. And he did an excellent job of driving this race car, too.
193.216 miles per hour.
We're gaining on it, boys.
P.J. Jones in the 92. Boy, Jeff, you talk about a tough following act.
He's got trouble right now, guys.
Yes, he does.
He's got trouble. That looks to me like maybe an oil line has come loose on this car. P.J. needs to get out of the groove as fast as he possibly can.
A lot of smoke from that 92 car, and he heads down to the apron.
Yeah, he put out a lot of oil right now. Looks like all over the racetrack, maybe.
Yeah, it was right in the groove from turn 4, almost all the way to exiting the tri-oval here. And
so much for our late draw, my friend.
Yeah. PJ's one of the go-or-go homers. We need to mention that David Stremme, David Ruderman, and Kevin LePage, they have been locked into this show for Saturday night.
Yeah, you can look underneath the left front right here. Look right in this area. You can see the oil actually dripping down from what looks to be like an oil line that's probably come loose.
All right, let me ask the blind obvious here. You're going to qualify coming up here, and you're going to try and get a shot at Elliott Sadler, but the track will, the workers will do everything they can to get that oil off that racetrack or absorb it. That's got to play on your mindset.
Sure, it plays on.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
at 190 plus miles an hour? Yes, it does.
Dave Burns.
With Elliott Sadler. Okay, show me the left hand again. Just a little bit shaking right there. That's right. That's hard to do out there. And anything up your sleeve like an ace of spades or hearts or anything?
No, but only that car. My guys are doing such a great job, and we're gelling together and we're communicating well. And they brought me another great race car today. And we've had a lot of fun today. The M&M's Ford's fast, and really want to get a pole. I think Jimmy Johnson is going to be the man to beat, but maybe we've put some out there for him to shoot at. We'll see.
That's kind of tough to back it up when you were talking about it, and even Newman was worried about you.
Yeah, we've been good all day long, and when Newman went out and ran that lap, I was like, yeah, I know Ryan Newman. He's not out of the gas long, so I knew what I had to do, and just drove a good lap for me. It's about scared me half to death, so I'm glad it's over with now. But I'm just proud of all the sponsors we got, and they've been sticking behind us. We've had a tough season, but to come out here and have nights like this at Charlotte, where we know we got a lot of guys from the shop that are in the stands tonight, and they work their butts off. It's pretty cool to run a fast lap like that.
And flat to the mat all the way around?
I don't know.
And we never will, Steve.
That is a fact, Dave Burns. So there's P.J. Jones' race car. He has just oiled down the racetrack. There's a look at what happened coming off of turn 4. So we'll see who's the bravest of the brave after this.
What to do?
I don't want to go.
Not me. Tomorrow on Speed, catch Bush Pole qualifying and Nextel Cup final practice live from Charlotte. First at 2:30, it's Bush Pole qualifying. Second place, Clint Boyer has his sights set on overtaking reigning champ Martin Truex Jr. But first, he's got to qualify. Then at 6, the chase is nearly half over. Find out who's found the speed and handling that's so critical here at Charlotte. It's Nextel Cup final practice. Don't miss Bush Pole qualifying, followed by Nextel Cup final practice live from Charlotte tomorrow beginning at 2:30, only on Speed. Meanwhile, back here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, track workers continue to try and mop up the oil laid down by P.J. Jones and his qualifying effort, and the man on the moon.
Hey, look, Humpy Wheeler and the gang, they have finished the levigation process here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. I believe they've started levigating the moon now.
Humpy Wheeler negotiating to put a logo 240,000 miles away on the moon as we speak.
After the levigation process.
Yes.
You know what's going to happen?
What?
He's going to send you 2 guys to the moon.
Looks like it'd be fun.
Okay, well,
Take us
with
to
that,
break, Steve.
we better do that.
We've stirred this pot enough.
Yes, we have. More Bud Pole qualifying from Lowe's Motor Speedway here on Speed. Speed Channel's coverage of Bud Pole qualifying is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. Bobby Hamilton Jr. has the unenviable task of being the first driver to qualify after P.J. Jones oiled the track down.
And this is a backup car for Bobby Hamilton Jr. The first lap on the racetrack in the first practice today, the car got away from him, and so this is a backup car.
Ricky Rudd's crew chief Michael Fatback McSwain got a close-up look at the racetrack. He's with Marty Snyder.
And Steve, he'll be the next car to go out. What did you see when you checked out the track?
It didn't look too bad. I mean, as good as it could look for what we just went through. Looked like all the oil was gone. There was just some oil dry left out there. But we got out and we rubbed my foot on it, and it seemed pretty decent.
He said the best part about it was that it wasn't where the cars land, if you will. When they go into turn one, the cars kind of land down. That wasn't where the oil was. The oil was short at that point, so he felt like it would be fine. Plus, Bobby Hamilton Jr. plans on running both of these laps.
Well, Marty, that was a pretty good first lap. 28:41, 14th quickest in this backup car. One of the go-or-go-home cars. He's locked into the show. I'm not sure if I would shut it down right now.
I would right now. A backup car, James Ince, I think you need to be hollering at the driver right now, buddy. You're in. Back it down.
And this lap looks to be about the same as lap 1, so I'm not sure a lot will be gained here. In fact, he'll slow down just a little bit, but he's locked in the show now.
Bobby Hamilton Jr., 14th of 30 drivers who have taken time at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Only one driver has made more starts at Lowe's Motor Speedway than Ricky Rudd, and that's the king, Richard Petty.
Ricky has 58 starts here, 25 top 10 finishes. He's never been to victory lane here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, but always seems to be running at the end up near the front. Had a great run at Kansas last week. It was a great day for the over the 40 guys.
How about that?
Yeah, Ricky Rudd had a great run. Of course, Mark Martin winning a race. Kenny Schrader, Sterling Marlin, all those guys had good runs. Rusty Wallace.
Dale Jarrett won at Talladega, the over 40 gang.
There you go.
Are you trying to send a message out here, Larry?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just stating the facts.
Nothing but the facts, ma'am. Just the facts.
He's saying experience still matters.
Exactly. Ricky was 33rd quickest in practice earlier today. Looks like it's going to be a decent lap for Ricky here. Lap 1, 28:48. Puts him 19th quickest.
Picks up a couple tenths from what he ran earlier.
Looks like he's going to go ahead and run this second lap. Right now, looks to be a little behind lap 1, though. He gets in the corner good, but like a lot of people, just loses it from the center off, especially down there in turn 3 and 4.
Seems like 3 and 4 is giving everybody a lot of trouble. That's not unusual. That's pretty much one of the trickier corners at this racetrack here at Charlotte.
Still to come, 5 of our drivers in the chase. Rusty Wallace, Jimmy Johnson, who many think has a shot at the pole tonight, currently held by Elliott Sadler. Also later on, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, and
Flip getting into one down there both laps. I didn't get the grip back. Just delayed my set.
He's talking about delaying the set. I heard Jimmy Johnson talk about that several years ago. When you get down into one, it's where that race car comes off the hill, so to speak.
And you know, it's all about when you turn it down in there, that thing, when it digs in right there, that's when you know the car is taking a set. Shortly after that, for a good lap, you better be on that throttle.
Marty Snyder.
Hey, Steve, we were playing with this during the break. We're trying to find out how far it is from here to the moon. But check out what the 29 team does, all of RCR Racing does during qualifying. They pull up NASCAR.com and Pit Command, and they actually watch it live here on pit road on the internet, so they can tell how fast someone's going, where they're gaining time. It's basically like watching our chase pace, if you will, and they get it all on the internet, and they can tell Kevin, or pace chase, I should say, and they can tell Kevin, you know, here's where the guy gained, here's where he lost time, and you can see right now Mike Garvey and what he's doing on the racetrack. Right there is a 37 car going through 1 and 2. It's a little about 5 seconds behind, Todd Barrier told me, but they use it. They've used it for like the last month or so at every racetrack, and it's really been a big benefit.
A lot of information there that may not pay off for qualifying tonight, but may help you the next go around.
Mike Garvey's on the racetrack. We saw that from their little computer display a minute ago. And first lap, he's 31st quickest. And Larry, would you have liked to have had that kind of note? Look, because I know you're big on keeping notes.
It would be neat information because, you know, when we're at the racetrack under NASCAR sanction, as Mike Garvey gets way up the racetrack in 3 and 4, we can have no data acquisition of our own. So there's a lot of good information right there. And I'm afraid this is not going to be good for Mike Garvey in the 37 car. He's one of the go-or-go-home cars, and he's about one of the slowest of those cars right now.
Jeff, you know, Larry uses his cell phone during the races on Sunday.
It's the neatest thing. The next day I have the fan scan. And I mean, I sat there last week and I listened to Mark Martin. It's sitting in my lounge chair at home and watching the boys on NBC. I listened to Matt Kenseth. It's the neatest thing. My wife came in and said, "What in the world are you listening to?" And I said, "I'm listening to the boys out of Kansas right now."
Snyder with a driver who knows something about gaining or picking up pole positions here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Pole positions, wins. He's done it pretty much all here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. And more importantly, last week they finished 10th at Kansas. That was a big step for your mile-and-a-half program, wasn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, it really was. You know, especially on those types of tracks, the flatter mile-and-a-half tracks. This one, you know, it's got so much grip because of the levigating and all that stuff that they did that we were pretty fast here in May and running pretty decent here today. But yeah, I was real proud of Steve and those guys. They you know, they've really been working hard, just trying to find whatever we can to get me comfortable. And you know, we had a pretty comfortable car last week.
You were fast in May until the racetrack bit you, right? A piece of the racetrack actually came up and knocked a hole in your valence.
It did, and you know, we fought back from that, and we were still going to have a top 5 finish. I think a caution caught us out, and we got shuffled in the back, and then got caught up in a wreck trying to get up through there. But you know, this place is very, very fast. It's got a lot of grip, especially around the bottom. So we'll just see how much grip it has, and if the DuPont Chevrolet does what we need to do.
Qualifying continue here from the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Elliott Sadler currently fastest. Jeff Gordon will go out here in a moment. He was 9th fastest in practice this afternoon.
Bud Pole qualifying back at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Michael Waltrip in the number 15 Chevrolet of DEI.
I don't know if you noticed it or not, but Michael's car twitched right in the middle of the corner. Didn't really run up the racetrack. The back end just kind of kicked out on it, just right in the center of the corner, right where you really like to pick that throttle up and drive it off with a lot of authority. It wasn't up underneath him, Larry.
Yeah, Michael was 22nd quickest in practice earlier today. He ran a 28.50. That's about what he ran there on lap 1. He's 20th at a 28.49. Had a rough day in Busch practice today. I think he actually got into the wall with 2 different race cars. So a pretty rough day for Michael Waltrip in that 99 Busch car.
Car still dancing around an awful lot through the middle of the corner.
This is the same car he ran at Kansas last week when he had the engine blow up about halfway through. He's going to slow down on lap 2 to a 28.57. So right now, Michael will be 20th quickest.
Started 6th here a year ago on this Lowe's Motor Speedway. That was Michael's 41st start on this mile-and-a-half.
I got the 50s all I had today.
He said as fast as he could go was about a 28.50.
Boris Said up next. Teammate to Joe Nemechek and Scott Riggs at MB2.
This is one of those go or go home cars now. And we said earlier we have 49 cars here. We know now that Stanton Barrett, P.J. Jones, Jimmy Spencer, Mike Garvey will not make this show, but Stuart Kirby, Mike Wallace, David Strimmy, David Rudeman, and Kevin LePage, they've been locked in.
Elliott Sadler and Ryan Newman both over 193 miles per hour here tonight in qualifying. Elliott Sadler has the pole for the time being.
Jeff, this is going to be a decent lap, but I think he needs to pick it up just a little bit. To be safe right now, Stuart Kirby is locked in the show at a 28.65. So like we've been talking, high 50, low 60 would lock you in right now.
Be interesting to see right now if he completes that first time by at 28.78. Again, he needs a couple of tenths, I think, to be able to be safe.
And unless he can pick it up to at least a 28.69, this lap will lock Johnny Sauter in the 09 into this show. And it looks like Boris is going to run about the same as he did possibly on lap 1. Starting to pick it up a little bit off turn 4.
Just a little bit. Don't need a lot.
He picks it up, but not enough. That will lock Johnny Sauter in the 09 in.
Boris Said trying to make his first start on the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Let's go back to Marty Snyder.
Well, fastest in practice this afternoon was Jimmy Johnson. So can you beat the 38, Jimmy?
We're going to try. That's right about the speed we ran in practice, and I know this Lowe's Monte Carlo's got some more speed in it. I want to say hi to all the top salespeople at Lowe's. They're all sitting in a room watching. Hopefully we can win this poll and make 300 people really happy tonight on top of everybody else on this Lowe's team and everybody around here on our side, on the Hendrick side. But we should be in good shape.
A different looking paint scheme this week, too. A little black in there.
Yeah, this is our paint scheme for next season. we brought it out to debut it here at the racetrack this weekend at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and this is what the new look for 06 will be.
As Jimmy calls it, it's my house. Won 4 of the last 5 races here.
And Marty, interesting, that paint scheme was submitted by Brian Turnmeyer. He's an artist at the Lowe's corporate headquarters in Mooresville, North Carolina. It was part of a contest.
Yep. Tell you what, this is a pretty good looking lap for Jeff Burton in this 31 car. Should be in the top 15 for Jeff. Tested out here a couple of weeks ago. Good lap, 12th quickest for Jeff Burton.
Larry, you mentioned it earlier, but we've got a pretty tight field, all things considered. When you look at the fact there's only about 0.4 of a second between the top 5 and like 30th.
Well, right now, Elliott Sadler's fast time is a 27.94. We know that Carl Long right now will not make this show at a 28.78.
With the delay we had with the oil drop by P.J. Jones, is that going to help Jimmy Johnson at all? Will it allow that temperature to come down just that little bit that he needs?
It's certainly not going to hurt him, that's for sure. Not going to hurt him.
Jeff Burton, 12th fastest here on Lowe's Bud Pole qualifying at Lowe's Motor Speedway. And Marty was talking to Jeff Gordon, and 7 poles, 4 wins for Jeff Gordon on this racetrack.
He got his first career win here with Ray Evernham in May of 1994. And Jeff, that kind of set the precedence that late in a race, you can change 2 right side tires and you might can win the race, because that's what those boys did that night.
They definitely did.
Everybody else changed 4 and he went, what'd they do?
But also, they had Jeff Gordon driving this thing, and I was going to point out, he was pretty quick in practice also, and he is a teammate to Jimmy Johnson as well as Kyle Busch. So if there's anything to be learned, this group had an opportunity to put it on their race car. And if anybody can get it done, Jeff Gordon can definitely step it up.
Yeah, did not get through turn 1 and 2 that great. He made up a little ground getting into turn 3, but it looks like he's going to pay the price just a little bit on the exit. This may be a top 5 run, but not a pole winning run. But you mentioned it, Steve, 7 Bud poles. That's second only to David Pearson, who has 14 poles here. But the most phenomenal thing, 11 consecutive.
11 in a row for David Pearson.
Guys, he is all up on that wheel right now. He is really fighting it through the corners. You can see his hands in there just really just fighting them back and forth. First lap, good enough for 6th quickest, but the car is not under Jeff like he'd like to. Look inside there. You can really see him working it, just fighting that wheel.
This lap of B just maybe a little slower than lap 1 to a 28.22. So right now, Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, will be 6th.
So Elliott Sadler hangs on to the pole bit for the time being, but remember, Jimmy Johnson still to come. Johnson trying to win his 4th consecutive race here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Jeff Gordon's teammate. Casey Mears up next.
Casey was 16th quickest in practice earlier today in the 41 car. He ran a 28.43. Great run for this team out at Kansas last week. They finished 8th. This is the same car. They got it back home, turned it around. Had a great run going at Talladega a couple of weeks ago when Ryan Newman got into the back of him going through the trials.
And now, Larry, Jeff Casey qualified. He had a great qualifying run here a year ago. Is that something that he can bank on, or is this track so much radically different after a year?
I think it's the type of racetrack that Casey Mears runs well at. We've seen him run good at Texas. We've seen him run good at Atlanta. And right now he looks like he's on maybe a top 5 qualifying run if he can get off turn 4 good here.
Struggled just a little bit off of turn 4, but definitely a good lap there, Larry. Car bottomed out just a little bit. Tire smoke on the left front, but very solid lap right now for Casey Mears. 6th quickest on that first lap.
Good lap.
But going back to what you're saying, Steve, when a driver likes this style of racetrack, it makes things so much easier for everybody. It has to do with attitude. We always talk about a driver's attitude. If he's got a positive attitude, he loves coming to a racetrack, everything seems to have a way of falling into place.
So even if the track is different, his confidence is high, the team's confidence is high in him.
And especially with the runs they've been having of late, I think that puts everyone's confidence up there as he slows down just a little bit on lap 2.
Let's go back to Marty Snyder.
And Dale Jarrett climbing into his car, hoping to do what his teammate did. Brand new race car, DJ, how's it been this week?
The car's been good. Just kind of feeling things out here with it, and but kind of a new build for us, and things have gone pretty well so far. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow when we can get to race practice and see how it's going to do there. But the racetrack's awful fast and got a lot of grip, so we'll go see what we can do.
He said he was very impressed with his car in testing, but it's going to be nowhere near his teammate Elliott Sadler. He said, I wish I could be that fast. We're just not that good.
Three-time winner at this Lowe's Motor Speedway, Dale Jarrett is. Rusty Wallace making what will be his last start Saturday night here on NBC, Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Rusty was 21st quickest in practice earlier today. Rusty has a couple of wins here in 47 starts, and Jeff, he's also the winner of the 1989 All-Star race.
His most recent win here in 1990, but Larry Mack, he's banged a lot of top 10 finishes out here at this Lowe's Motor Speedway in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, just like he's done all year long here in 2005. 17 top 10 finishes, an amazing thing in 30 races, 24 top 15 finishes for Rusty.
Only driver in the chase who hasn't won a race yet, and he said that Mark Martin gave him hope by winning last weekend.
Just an okay run. Jeff, did you ever believe that a 28.44 at Lowe's Motor Speedway would be just an okay qualifying run?
Hard to believe that, because again, you mentioned 1989 for that particular race that Rusty and DW got together. That particular day, we qualified and ran a 30.007. I thought we were.
You were the man.
Fast. We were the man. Set on the pole that day, and new track record, I believe, but it didn't last very long.
Hey, guess who's up next?
Is it that time?
Supposed to be.
Is it
Jimmy
that time?
Johnson.
Let's check in with Marty before that.
And Kurt Busch, the 7th fastest in practice this afternoon, and has the favorable draw very late. Is that going to help out, Kurt?
I hope so. It might be a sign of our luck changing, maybe.
Something's got to help it out, right?
Oh, no, so I'm just going to put her on the floor, see if she sticks, and it's the best car we've had in a while at Charlotte.
Your impressions of the new racetrack since May, is it as tough as you thought it would be?
I made 26 laps in May and wrecked twice. I mean, that was a pretty good stat, so it's much better this time around.
Yeah, he talked to me about that finish earlier. He said, you know, we finished 43rd. I think we can do a little better this time around.
All right, Marty, here he is, Jimmy Johnson.
Now, he run a 27.948 in practice. He needs to better that just a little bit, because that's exactly what Elliott Sadler in that 38 car ran.
But Larry, he did not get off to turn 2 like he needed to. Came off there a little bit on the high side, lost a lot of ground. He's making it back up off of turn 3 right now, but it did hurt him as far as getting off turn 2 on that first lap.
28 flat, that puts Jimmy 3rd quickest right now.
You see the pace chase is still in the red just a little bit.
Struggling off of turn 2, guys. Right off the exit of turn 2, he gives up too much ground.
And that hurts your speed all the way down that back straightaway. Made his very first Nextel Cup start here back in October of 2001. 141 races ago, he's finished on the lead lap 105 times of those 141 races.
And he picked up 2 1/1000ths of a second, still remains 3rd.
Good effort, guys. Good effort.
Jimmy Johnson pretty happy with that qualifying effort, although it's not the pole. 17 times he's been to victory lane in his brief Nextel Cup career. He's going for 4 wins in a row here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway.
I would say a little on the tight side. Did everything I needed to do. I can tell I was dragging the motor down a little bit up off the corners just from the wheel input.
You said it, Jeff Hammond. He was losing ground off the corner, and that right there pretty much says why. He was a little bit tight. The front end just wasn't biting in on the exit.
And that's exactly, I mean, that's great input back to the crew chief, because again, it was just that little bit. I mean, we're talking about thousandths of a second right there. And just that little bog in the motor can hurt you.
Matt Kenseth with 3 top 5 finishes in the chase for the 2005 NASCAR Nextel Cup Championship.
He's been the qualifying man here lately. Sat on the buck pole at Kansas, back at Bristol in August. First lap, 15th quickest for Matt, 28.31.
Kenseth comes into this race 116 points behind the leader, Tony Stewart.
But only 41 points out of 2nd place right now, which Ryan Newman in the 12 car has. Looks like this lap's going to be a little slower than lap 1. So right now, Matt Kenseth, the 17 car, ended up 15th quickest.
Marty Snyder with another one of our chasers.
And that would be Carl Edwards, who very intently watched Jimmy Johnson's lap and is now listening to his teammate Matt Kenseth. What have you learned from all these guys, Carl?
The track's really fast, you know. They're saying tons of grip, and I think we got our Scots Ford, you know, pretty balanced, but this is going to be the kind of moment of truth. We got it set up for 2 laps, so I guess I don't have to whale it in there the first lap, but I think we're going to go pretty well.
Now, first of all, I think we put some Scots on your car chief Pierre Coutel's hair here, PK as he's better known. It's obviously grown up. We need to mow it a little bit, but if you win, will you put a little green top on there?
I don't know. Somebody got into the winterizer there.
That's fescue right there.
Right? Yeah, you're supposed to use that stuff on your lawn, but, you know, PK, he's kind of like that. It's red 1 week, green the next week, but I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon.
So if you win, you're not going to green your hair for us?
Oh, man, I'm not saying that on TV. No, I'll try whatever he. No, I'm not saying it, because then we'll win and I'll have to do it. But I don't know.
Larry Mack gives you a thumbs up, PK, and he suggests you should do it too, Carl.
All right, if we win, I'll have green hair next week.
All right, very good. There we got it out of him. Dave Burns, your turn to talk.
That's a lot of big talk on Speed Channel tonight. But somebody who almost had the pole here, Jimmy Johnson. Where did you lose it, Jimmy?
It's hard to say. I mean, that was a pretty strong lap. In practice, when I ran a 94, I felt like the car was a little looser than what I just had there. I felt like I got to all the same points, did all the same things. Maybe the car was just a little too comfortable, a little snug. But still a great effort, great lap for the Lowe's team, and we'll just line up. Unfortunately, we have to go to the back. We blew an engine in practice. This should get us a good pit stall pick, and we'll just get going on Sunday, or Saturday night.
I know.
That's right.
It's hard to remember your house Saturday night.
Sure.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave.
The only question I got, did he say it would help him grow hair too? Because if so, I want to make sure I get some for...
Don't even go there.
You know, Pierre has 4 kids. Can you imagine him coming down to breakfast? What's up, kids?
My kids would be proud of me.
There he is. We'll be right back. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Bud Pole qualifying for the Lowe's Motor Speedway is brought to you by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR. Dale Jarrett on the racetrack.
And we need to mention, while we were away at commercial, Robbie Gordon in the 7 car qualified in the 19th position. What's good for one team that missed the show at Kansas last week, Robbie Gordon in 7, is not good for the team of Boris Said in the 36 car. They will not make the show for Saturday night.
DJ 17th after his first lap. And he looks like he's going to shut her down. His teammate Elliott Sadler on the pole, Ryan Newman alongside for the time being. Handful of cars remaining in this Bud Pole qualifying session from the Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Larry, have you noticed, as far as this racetrack's concerned tonight, that a lot of times you want to be right on the bottom to be fast around Charlotte Motor Speedway? But I've seen guys up a little bit. I've seen them hold it out wide and arc it off to the bottom. So it tells me that there's a lot of groove and a lot of grip out there on that racetrack, and you can run your car pretty much wherever you want to. Just find a place that's comfortable, which should make some really exciting racing.
That's good news for Saturday night, absolutely.
Kurt Busch, 10th in points, 224 behind the leader, Tony Stewart.
We talk about how temperature sensitive this track is and all the practice in the daylight. And here they're qualifying at night. Jimmy Finney and this group here today, in the first practice they ran 1 lap, 1 time. He said, I'm not going to chase this racetrack right now. We tested out here at night for a reason. We have that information. I'm not going to start chasing this racetrack.
And Dale Jarrett had an interesting point. He said, I'm anxious to get to tomorrow to get in race trim to see what our race car can do.
But what's going to be interesting, most of that race practice is going to be in the daylight, and we race at night on Saturday night. So you got to put your thinking cap on.
You crew chiefs, you got it rough.
I tried to tell you guys that.
It isn't easy being us, you know what I'm saying? We've been trying to tell you that for a long time, but for Kurt Busch, a good lap right there, 10th quickest right now for him.
Steve, you were talking about it, 10th in the chase right now, 224 points out, only 1 top 10 finish in the 4 chase races. So these boys, they've got to be solid regardless of what the other 9 do, the remaining of these 6 races.
And he picks it up right there. Larry goes up to 7th quickest and runs on his second lap at 28.13. You got to be pretty happy with that.
I would say so.
Well, Carl Edwards has called it. If he wins the race, he will dye his hair green to match his car chief, Pierre Coutel.
And we will hold him to that.
Absolutely. But he'll probably gladly do that.
I would say so. And, you know, right now, Carl quietly sitting 6th in the chase right now, only 95 points out of the leader right now behind the leader, Tony Stewart.
And he likes these kind of racetracks, the 1.5 miles. Larry, as you said, he wanted Atlanta Motor Speedway earlier, a thrilling finish against Jimmy Johnson.
the car really wiggled on him bad in 1 and 2, and he had to chase it up the racetrack. I'm not sure he got out of the throttle, but he definitely had to go up the racetrack.
Had to go up the racetrack right there. Did a good job of saving the car. But again, Larry, I think that's what this racetrack is allowing these guys to do. If they make a little mistake, they can move around on the track and not necessarily lose it. But he's not going to be very happy with his first lap.
Carl was 13th quickest in practice earlier at a 28:39, and that's about what he runs on lap 1. Still up the racetrack a little bit off turn 2, but right now he didn't lose as much time as he did a while ago.
Picking up quite a bit. Time just keeps getting faster and faster and faster. If he can get through 3 and 4, he's going to be really impressed with his second lap.
Same car he finished 3rd with at Kansas, and they started and did most of their practice today in race trim before they went to qualifying trim. Good pickup.
Up to 8th for Carl Edwards. So teammates Mark Martin, Kurt Busch, and Carl Edwards 6th, 7th, and 8th.
And right now we have, it looks like to me, about 7 of our chase guys in the top 10 right now, in the top 8.
So Elliott Sadler anxiously awaits the final racer to qualify, Bud Pole qualifying, Kyle Busch.
Check that, we've got 6 of the top 10 in the top 8 right now.
And guys, this young man right here, you better not rule him out, because he could pull a rabbit out of the hat.
He ran a 28:23 in practice earlier today with 6th quickest, Kyle Busch in the 5 car.
And so far, everybody else has been able to pick up a couple of tenths, so it's going to be real critical for him to get in the corner. Like he was 198 miles an hour down into the turn, Larry, went up the racetrack and gave up a ton of time.
Yeah, it just really killed him right there. You can see it right there. About 40th or 41st quickest going off into turn 3, so he's got a lot of ground to try to make up on that second lap. But yeah, I think it was all about entrance. The car almost looked like Carl Edwards' car did on lap 1 while ago.
First lap, 35th for Kyle Busch, the youngest winner in NASCAR Nextel Cup history.
Well, it's definitely coming back the other way this time, guys. It may not be as big of a pickup as Carl Edwards did as far as getting to the top 10, but it's definitely going to be a big improvement from the first lap.
A lot better, but he lost a lot of ground down there in the middle of turn 3 and 4. And you know, Steve, this young man won about everything you could win back in May here, except for the Coca-Cola 600. He won the Busch race, and he won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race.
Picks up a lot, Larry Mack. He's up to 13th from 35th on his first lap. And that means Elliott Sadler has his 6th career NASCAR Nextel Cup pole. Let's take a look at our Verizon fastest lap, turned in by Elliott Sadler over 193 miles per hour.
Under 28 seconds flat, 27.948. Big approval by Doug Yates.
And Dave Burns is with him.
A little bit shaky.
And it's not like he broke a big drought for poles, because he had one just a couple races ago. But here at Charlotte, you've been second twice before. Must feel pretty good to get the pole.
It feels great. I'm so proud of my M&M guys. Kevin and those guys are just working so hard the last few weeks, and this is 3 front row starts in a row, and shows you what kind of work they're doing. And everybody in the fab shop appreciate the hard work. And of course, Doug Yates and his engines. I'm glad we got a Ford on the pole. That's pretty neat to do that here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. And I'm just a lucky guy that gets to drive it. So it was a great lap. I wouldn't want to do it again, and but I am looking forward to Saturday night. I can't wait.
He starts first, guys.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's take a look at the starting grid for Saturday night's race.
There
a lot
you
of
see
chase
those,
drivers in the top 10, Larry.
6 of them right there. Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, our points leader on row 2. Mark Martin, last week's winner, back in row 3.
A lot of Hendrick horsepower there. You see row 6, Mike Bliss and Joe Nemechek.
Good run there by Kyle Petty of row 8.
Yeah, Mike Bliss and Joe Nemechek, remember, they went out fairly early in this qualifying session.
Yeah, and great job by Kevin LePage. Out-qualified teams with a lot more funding and resources than they have. Tremendous job.
David Rudeman there on row 13, making his first Nextel Cup start here on Saturday night.
A little deeper in the field, Jeremy Mayfield with the lowest qualifier of the drivers in the Nextel Cup chase.
And we talked about it earlier, talk about a tight field. Elliott Sadler on the pole to 27.94. Boris said 3/4 of a second off that, did not make the show.
Take a look at the drivers who did not make the field for this race. For Jeff Hammond, Larry McReynolds, Marty Snyder, and Dave Burns, I'm Steve Burns. Thanks for being with us here on Speed.